Good morning, class. So we'll continue with the story, the ant lion. Yesterday we saw that Max had got hold of a meat ant and put it in the same sand pit as that of the ant lion, and the meat ant wants to get out. She smells danger, but then Max again pushes it back to the bottom of the sand pit, and let us see what happens further. But now the ant lion moved quick, dexterous. It thrust its stumpy forelegs from the sand and began to jerk its head, heavy and tool-like. Sand flew up, stopping or obstructing the big ant, setting the walls slipping down. Remember, the walls were balls of sand, the pit walls. Max breathed. Look at that now. So they are enjoying the struggle of the meat ant, both the children. The ant slipped and slipped, staying in the one place. It was growing tired, but it was clearly in a panic. It was fearful. Its legs worked frantically. Trying to move out of the sandpit. The hot shadows of the tree above moved across and across. The cicadas filled the afternoon with their monotonous, lacking variety. They go on in the same breath and sound. The battle swayed. The battle between whom? The ant lion and the meat ant. Morvenna moved aside. Her rib was against a knotted root of the tree, and as she moved, Max gave a shout of triumph. Oh, what happened? She thrust him aside and peered down. So all this time Morvenna was not bothered. She was so engrossed in watching both the ant fighting that she was not bothered that the stump of the knotted root was hurting her rib. But as she tried to find a comfortable position, she missed as to what was happening in the sandpit. So when Max says, "Oh," so he gave a shout of triumph. So she pushed him aside. The ant lion has seized the meat ant by one leg. Those relentless tool jaws hung on like the jaws of a dingo harassing a sheep. Dingo is a native to Australia. It is a dog, wild dog. The ant, caught at last, was putting out a desperate effort. Why desperate? Because it knew that its chances of survival were getting dimmer with every passing second. His free legs thrashed wildly. He made a little headway, but the weight of the grub-like creature braced against him was too much. Grub over here is the larva, kind of larva. They have described the ant lion over here. Braced against him, that is, they are talking about that the strength of the ant lion which was supported against him was too much, and he couldn't find anything to grip or to hold. I ought to save him, Morvenna thought. I oughtn't to let, mother would call it, cruelty to animals. See, so this is about cruelty to animals. But she no longer wanted to put down her twig, even if Max would let her. So she was in two minds whether to save the meat ant or not, because she remembered her mother's words that we should not be cruel to animals. But then she realized she wanted to see what happened, what came out of the battle, and she was wary of her brother Max also, who she knew very well would not let her save the meat ant. Shamed, enraptured, she clung to the tree root with one hand and stared down. The ant grew weaker, slower, his struggles more spasmodic, painful. The lion saw his chance now. He released the leg and made for the ant's body, seizing him by the abdomen. There was a wild scurry in the pit now. The ant rearing in the fountain sand. Why fountain sand? Because of the frenzy of movement in the sand pit, the sand was continuously falling. They could see those shovel jaws working. Whose jaws? The ant lion's. The silence was the strangest thing, Morvenna thought. Round them the afternoon continued. A wagtail hopped on the fence. A wagtail is a bird. Other ants ran placidly about their business. So, I mean, there was nothing, though there was a desperate fight going on, kind of a battle going on between the ant lion and the meat ant. The ant lion wanting to kill its prey, while the meat ant wanting to escape. But the rest of the world went on as if nothing out of the ordinary was taking place there. The creek below made its endless liquid noise. Creek is a stream. Liquid noise, the water gurgling over the rocks. But to the two children, all had shrunk to the dimensions of the pit. So they were not aware of any other thing other than the pit area and was as to what was happening over there and the creatures in it. They were more concentrating on both the ants, engaged in their soundless struggle. So, why the soundless struggle? For the children, the struggle was soundless. As the ants do not give out a sound. Plunged and reared enormous. Who plunged and reared enormous? Both the ants. The golden air should have been full of their shrieks and groanings, the kind of battle which was taking place at the bottom of the sand pit. So according to that, the entire area around the children should have been full of shriekings and groanings of both the ants trying to better each other. Now the ant fell over. All was over, his waist almost severed, almost cut off. His legs quivering, shaking in the air, he lay helpless. That is the meat ant. How quickly, how ruthlessly the ant lion pulled him down. So the ant lion did not waste time in going for the kill and pulling the meat ant down, avoiding the last kicks of those thin, useless legs. Why are the legs of meat ant called now thin and useless? Because the meat ant was as good as dead. Touching him, severing abdomen from body, hiding him in the sand to serve for larder. So the ant lion has stored the meat ant for some future use, where the other ants lay. So the other ants were also stored over there. The creature seemed like a little machine, a tool for some energy that possessed him. Hideous, swift, he sent a shudder through Morwenna as she watched him. So what the children, especially Morwenna, could feel that this particular ant lion was a kind of a hideous creature, full of violence and a violent energy, a devil-like energy which possessed him to kill and kill and kill. Slowly, the lion and his victim sank into the sand. So, why did the lion is sinking into the lion is sinking into the sand? It is pulling its victim or the meat ant over here into the sand. Now they were only humps, meaning to say the creatures cannot be seen. Only a slight hump in the sand can be seen and sand covered. Now they had vanished. So within moments they vanished from the view of the children. There lay the pit, still and innocent, its contours unchanged. Now there was no more struggle on part of the meat ant, and there was no further prey also for the ant lion to capture or kill. So everything was still in the pit. Its contours, the sides, the curves of the pit unchanged. Why? Because there was no struggle going on, no ant trying to scramble up to the surface. So the sand remained as it was. Max sat up slowly. His eyes looked large and dark. "Are you going to put in another?" Morwenna asked. She half hoped, half feared it. So Morwenna, earlier we talked about the boys being cruel, but then here we see in the character of Morwenna a girl that she was divided in her opinion. She wanted Max to put another ant because she wanted to see how now the ant lion will behave, and she also feared for the life of some other ant which Max will think of putting in the sand pit. "No," Max said. He stood up, not looking at the pit or at Morwenna. Enough's enough. So now Max is bored. He doesn't want to be a party to any more violence. Now he is bored of the fight of the ants. Are you going to bring Harry down and show it to him? Morwenna persisted. So children, remember early in the beginning, Max had told Morwenna not to disturb it because this is the first time that they had found an antlion and he wanted to show it to other people. So it seems Harry is one person, most probably their friend or their cousin, whosoever, whom they wanted to preserve the antlion or to keep the antlion to show. Oh, shut up, said Max. He stood uncertainly for a moment, detaching himself from the scene, from the afternoon, from Morwenna. So now, detaching himself, he has cut off himself from the entire thing. So children, there are times when your mind just goes kaput, okay, and you close yourself, your mind. Physically you might be there, but I know it happens so many times in the class when the teachers are teaching and you are in some other world of your own. So in a way you are cut off. Physically you are very much there in the class, but your mind is totally cut off as to what is happening there. Then he set off down the creek bank, running faster and faster. Morwenna stood hesitating. Then she too began to run. So when Morwenna saw Max running, so she was undecided what to do. She couldn't figure out why Max was suddenly behaving, her brother was suddenly behaving like that. And then later on she decided not to give any thought and she too began to run. At last they stopped, far from the pit, exhausted and panting. What shall we do now? Morwenna said. So they were simply passing their time. They had nothing better to do, and having found an antlion, they decided to feed it number of ants which were there, which they picked up from the anthill. And it was just to them, they, especially Max, had not even given it a thought that they were being cruel to animals. So this story was quite disgusting, too violent but then it's a story, so it should be taken in that spirit, and every story has some moral. So it tells us that we should not be cruel to animals. See, on their own, if they are hunting for something to eat, it's fine, but then who are we to, everybody, all living things on this earth have a right to live. When their time comes, no one knows. So till that time, stay safe, stay blessed. I want you to go through the story once again. Learn the word meanings from here or given on page number 90. I want you to, and please to learn the spellings of the difficult words as well. So in the next class, couple of classes, you will get the literature and grammar work from this chapter. Thank you.